two pieces that are involved in the show, and actually just a couple things that I would like to talk about. There was another artist by the name of Risk, and when I dropped a couple of my pieces off prior to the show, we were talking. I wanted him to come and take a look at my work, and I showed him, and he noticed that there was a particular crew called Pen 1, which I was involved in, called Public Enemy Number 1. So we were talking, and next thing you know, he mentioned another graffiti artist named Cassidy, and he was in the same crew that I was in. So we were talking, and he just told me a quick story about how they grew up in the same neighborhood. They shared an alley, so they played a lot. And this guy named Pesky, his name is Dominic, we have the same name, and we went to the same school. So as time went on, and the graffiti in Chicago had exploded, he campaigned for me to be in his crew called Public Enemy Number 1. So I have some stickers that are currently on display in the show, and they're from the early 80s. So I kind of kept them as just a personal history. I never wanted to display them, but I found out about the show and decided to display them because of the title of the show as stickers. So it was a perfect opportunity for me to show stickers, not current stickers or not stickers from the street art movement, but from the graffiti movement from the early 80s. And I told Risk that if he still had communication with him, and he says no, I said, oh, that would be perfect, because I wanted him to attend the show, because the last time I saw Pesky was in the 80s, and he just told me that Pesky passed away. And I said, oh, it would just been a perfect opportunity for us to see each other again and to kind of reminisce, as all other graffiti artists do from time to time. So I'm going to just quickly show you some artwork that I've done over the past. These are called photo blueprints. So I'm kind of making a blueprint and kind of doing another drawing and kind of superimposing over the blueprint. So 99.9% of my work is CTA based because of the love-hate relationship that I have with the CTA. Kind of goes back to the early 80s of being a graffiti artist. I'm just going to kind of breeze through this. Well, I guess there's no other artist speaking, so I guess I can take my time. Yeah. So here's one that's called Give Graffiti the Brush. And actually this was an old CTA card, kind of a couple generations prior to the Ventra. And the CTA kind of offered advertising space on the other side of it. So this is one that's by Toys. So this is another one right here. This is another photo blueprint. So this is called Cassidy. As you can kind of see in the title that's over where it's just kind of cut off. But I'm kind of doing a series of different elements of the CTA, different elements of graffiti, and I kind of put them all together. This is a train stop on the Lake Line, not the Green Line. This is Holman and Lake Street. So here's another one. It says report vandals now. The CTA did a lot of campaigning as far as trying to eradicate or trying to get rid of graffiti, and there were a lot of slogans, a lot of signage that was placed on the CTA trains. This is another one right here. The Streets and Sanitation Department handled the graffiti blasters program, and there was just a truck that had I believe, a combination of some type of liquid solution and some type of soda. I think it may have been some type of powder solution, and when you mix these two chemicals together, it aided in the removal of graffiti. This is another one right here called Hex 1. That was my name prior to Nick Fury. And for all you CTA fans, if you can recognize the background, it's an old paper transfer from the 1980s. So for the ones who were born in the 90s, you probably never will ever see a transfer like this. And pretty much what was it? It was just a paper, I believe it was newsprint, very cheap material, and there was a series of times, and it's a series of letters and numbers that identified the routes. And when you entered onto the bus driver would stamp with the hole punch of what time and what route you were on. It was very limited. So here's another one right here, Griffin. Griffin was the Griffin shoe dye, but graffiti writers used it as a means of ink, and the reason because it was almost impossible to remove. So whatever surface that it was applied to, whether it was wood, glass, metal, vinyl sheets, or whatever, it was almost impossible to remove. So later on within time, it became completely banned from the Chicago area. I'm still trying to find Griffin shoe dye, but I still have some right here though. Just keeping this for momentum. This is the Graffiti Blasters second edition, the part 2 of that series. This is another one. I superimposed a tag of my crew called Pin 1, and you can see the Graffiti Blasters truck. And it was during a time when Mayor Daley was in office. So here's another one right here. I would like to thank the CTA for free advertising. So that's pretty much what majority of the graffiti writers that use the CTA, they use the CTA as a means of communication as far as getting your name out from line to line of certain neighborhoods or certain areas without actually traveling to those areas. So it was a real good system. So here's another one right here. It's just a combination of a bus and a train tunnel. This one just is called Nick Fury. And back to Give Graffiti the Brush. And are there any questions about the work, or any questions about Chicago graffiti, or any questions about the show? Yes?
Did you paint that or print the black?
That was printed. So for this particular one, or for a majority of the Blueprint series, I took a photograph, or I did a scanning of the image. So let's just say the blue part is a blueprint. I did some alternative printing, so I figured out how to use the blueprint machine when I was attending Columbia, and I did some experiments. And then the black part is just a drawing where I superimposed it, and then I just kind of ran it through a large format copier and created that. So it's one surface. It's not a collage or anything like that. It's just one surface. Thanks. Any other questions?
Have you have a show coming up?
Yes, currently I'm working on a transit theme show for this summer at the Vertical Gallery. So if anyone would like to attend, or if you're involved, would like to be involved, or if you would like to come out and see some more kind of street art or graffiti-based artwork in the Vertical Gallery. There's one gallery in Chicago that's kind of featuring that type of artwork. And it's just verticalgallery.com, and it has all the up-and-coming information about the shows and current shows, future and past. Okay. Any other questions or comments? It's called the Vertical. Yeah, Vertical Gallery. Yeah. Yeah.